Execution of Charles Campbell. This, of course, an execution that has been 12 years after Campbell was sentenced for the triple murder in Snohomish County. There have been a lot of people here tonight voicing their opinions both for and against this execution. Some very strong emotions tonight, and for that story, we go to King 5's Susanna Frank.
Linda, those supporting the death penalty behind me here didn't gather until late tonight, not until about 11 o'clock, but now that they're here, they're certainly making themselves known. There are about 100 people here. I would call this a definite party-like atmosphere. They have been chanting several times, "Campbell is dead, Campbell is dead." As you can see, many of them have carried signs with them tonight. About 25 yards away from here, though, there is a very peaceful protest underway. These people are against the death penalty. All night long, they have been praying for Charles Campbell. Anti-death penalty supporters started the night with a vigil, lighting candles for Campbell's victims, their families, and Charles Campbell himself.
Whenever an execution takes place, there's a little bit of every one of us in the state of Washington, in a sense, in the execution.
Security coming onto prison grounds is extremely thorough. All protesters have hand pat-downs and their cars are searched. In the protest pens, emotions are high.
He's been laughing at our justice system for the last 12 years, sticking out his tongue at the cameras every time he gets a stay, and he's doing the same thing now. And I hope he squirms like a pig when that stinking rope snaps his neck. I'll be laughing. I'll be ecstatic.
Some are calling the night a celebration. A few smoked cigars. Have you been actually looking forward to this?
I've been looking forward to it for a long, long time.
Those against the death penalty know their position is unpopular, but they will be here to the end.
I'm not here supporting what Campbell did. What I'm here is to say that what the state of Washington is doing to Campbell is wrong.
Barry and Gina, ironically, this high-spirited party-like atmosphere you see going on behind me is not what the family members of Charles Campbell's victims had wanted. They issued a joint statement on Tuesday I'd like to share with you right now. It said, "We have not gathered for celebration and most respectfully request of others that there be no expressions of joy. Such action would not help us, nor will it honor those whom we have lost." Obviously, their wish is not being granted on this side of the protest pens at this hour. That's the situation going on outside right now, Barry and Jean. For what's going on inside the penitentiary walls, let's go back live now to King 5 Linda Byron.
Okay, thank you, Susanna. A little information now about what Charles Campbell has been doing in the last hour or so. We know that he refused his last meal earlier this evening. He said to be quiet inside that holding cell. He has had his attorney with him for much of the day. He asked for writing paper and some stamps, and that was granted. He also asked that his remains be designated to be received by Judith Dirks. That is the woman who is the mother of his 12-year-old son, and she was his sole visitor today except for his attorney. Let's go inside now to the actual media briefing room, and this is where we will be getting the signal once Charles Campbell is executed. We will have a spokesperson that will come in. You can see the clock there now. If the prison guide is being followed right now, that is the actual manual for capital punishment procedures, Campbell should be moved into the gallows about now, within the next few minutes. And of course, we have no way of knowing if that's happening because those who are inside watching this execution have no means of communication with us right now. But again, as soon as we get word, of course, we will pass it along to you. And the execution is scheduled to take place at just 1 minute after midnight. Linda Byron reporting live in Walla Walla. Jean and Barry.
All right, Linda, thank you. And Susanna as well.
We're going to bring in Jim Compton now. Jim's covered last year's execution of Wesley Allen Dodd and has interviewed at least 5 of this state's death row prisoners.
Well, Jim, the focus seems to be on 2 things tonight, on Charles Campbell himself and on the form of death, hanging specifically.
Hanging is very important. We should emphasize this is an immense legal landmark for this state because this is the first time a person has been executed against their will in more than 30 years in this state. Remember that Wesley Allen Dodd cooperated. He refused to file appeals and in a way facilitated his own execution. Campbell has fought to the very end in the most ferocious way. He has tried to get the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the federal courts, to intervene as late as 11 o'clock tonight. This is the first time in almost 31 years to the day. It was early June of 1963 that this state last hanged a murderer. The state of Montana hasn't done it for 50 years, and this state got a scathing rebuke from Justice Harry Blackmun, the retiring justice today, about hanging. He used the words in his opinion, crude, barbaric, indecent, and inhumane. The point being that this retiring justice of the U.S. Supreme Court is saying this state is alone with Montana and South Africa in using hanging. He is saying that lethal injection and other means are available.
Jim, one of the focuses of the coverage over the last few days has been the abuses of the system that are perceived by people. Have you heard talk about the changes that might come in the system so this wouldn't happen again?
Former Attorney General Ken Eikenberry won a big victory when he went to the U.S. Supreme Court in the Campbell case and said, tell the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, that's the level just below the Supreme Court, to speed things up. And they did, and they sent in a very carefully worded thing with no timetable, a message to the Ninth Circuit saying, get this thing going. And it has speeded Campbell up, but still 12 years, remember, is a lot of suffering for the victims' families.
Right. All right, Jim, thanks. And I think we want to check with Linda Byron in time. Are we going to bring Linda in? Can she hear us? Linda, the last time we talked to you, you said that the prisoner has probably gone to the area of the gallows. Do you have any confirmation of that yet?
We have not received confirmation of that. The only thing I can tell you is when I checked with authorities a while ago, they said they are following the procedural checklist. And in the briefing, we were told that 20 minutes before the scheduled execution, they would bring him around into the gallows. His holding cell is just behind the gallows, so it's really only a matter of a few paces for him to come around the corner and then into the gallows. And of course, he'll be given an opportunity to say any final words. And in the witness area tonight, there will be 3 family members of his victims. There will be the man who was married to one of the victims, the daughter of that woman, Barbara Hendrickson, and also the sister of Renee Wickland. So no doubt it's going to be a very emotional event for a lot of people.
15 witnesses tonight, including 10 people from the news media. Thank you, Linda Byron. The legal road. Here now are some examples of just how hard Charles Campbell has fought this execution. In the past 12 years, courts have issued 3 different death warrants for Campbell. He's also had 3 stays of execution, one of them coming just 33 hours before he was to be hanged. Campbell has used at least 15 court-appointed attorneys, and all this comes with a price tag. Prosecutors say that their conservative estimate is more than $2 million in taxpayer dollars. And it's not over yet.
King 5's Robert Mack is at the Attorney General's office in Seattle, where he's going to report to us on any late moves in this case. Has there been anything since we last checked with you, Robert?
No, there hasn't, Gene. After asking the governor for clemency, after all those appeals you just heard, after all the petitions, Charles Campbell's only hope for staying alive tonight remains with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco. Now, here's what has happened tonight. A 3-member panel of judges on that court has already rejected Campbell's case. So Campbell now needs to find other judges on that same court to agree to reconsider his case. If he finds enough judges, and that may be a difficult task, he may then try for a stay of execution. Campbell's attorneys have already told the United States Supreme Court that they will not file another appeal there. So right now, it's wait and see. Campbell has certainly tried every avenue he could, but today everyone has turned him down, and now time is simply running out. I'm Robert Mack reporting live in Olympia.
All right, Robert Mack reporting live from Seattle tonight. Now the story about family and friends of Campbell's victims.
Those who knew Renee Wickland, her daughter Shanna, and Barbara Hendrickson are not protesting. The execution